everyone, and greetings once again from Radio Wasteland Records. It is time for our weekly check into some of the new releases headed to an independent record store near you. Brief list today, but there is a lot out there. But we got to be a little brief because things are kind of busy around here, what with Record Store Day, Black Friday, and Small Business Saturday, and the gearing up to the holiday shopping season. So it's a little crazy, but I wanted to take a little time to cover some of the highlights of the upcoming releases. If you'd like to see that full list, and I would really recommend you check out that full list because it's got a lot of great stuff on there, but you can see that full list by heading over to our website at radiowastelandrecords.com. From there, look for the upcoming releases tab, click on that. You'll see a PDF with all 600 plus titles that we have got scheduled for this upcoming week. But for now, though, let's dive into some of the stuff we can expect for Friday, the 6th of December, 2024. On the new release side, we're going to count these as new releases because it's the first time on vinyl for a couple of these compilations. We have got the definitive collection coming from Stevie Wonder. Our description says that this is a double LP pressing, best-selling 21-track hits that are now on vinyl for the very first time. It features Stevie Wonder classic after classic, from early gems, including Fingertips, to Signed, Sealed, Delivered, as well as timeless #1 songs like Superstition and You Are the Sunshine of My Life. Double LP black vinyl, the definitive collection from Stevie Wonder. Motown Records, of course, is the label. This one coming in at a suggested list price of $33. On the 80s hairband metal side of things, we've got a couple variations of Rare Vintage from the band Vixen. Vixen, of course, is the American rock band formed in Minnesota in 1980. And I don't know if I agree with this in our description, but they've often been described as the female Bon Jovi. Take that as you will. Pressed on 180-gram vinyl, this album brings together some heavy metal power ballads that weren't on the first 3 albums from Vixen. So again, that's why it's called Rare Vintage. There is a red vinyl version of this one coming out, listing for about $25. And then there is a red marbled vinyl version, listing a little bit more, $28. The suggested list price on that. But Rare Vintage, 2 versions of it coming from Vixen. Let's get you into the holiday spirit with some glad tidings from Sun Records. This Various Artist LP is the first holiday collaboration from Sun Records and Org Music. It features a healthy helping of both standards and original compositions, all performed in the label's signature blend of country, soul, and rock and roll. Artists on this include the likes of Patti Page, Carl Mann, the Ad-Libs, the Rockin' Stockins, Little Joseph, and many, many more. This, by the way, is pressed on something called Rudolph Red Vinyl. Glad tidings from Sun Records, single LP on that red vinyl, listing for about $26. And speaking of Christmas, here's an album you didn't know you needed. I really didn't even know this existed, even though this came out in 2003. It's the Jethro Tull Christmas album, the 2024 remix thereof. Double LP coming from Inside Out Records. The description says that the Jethro Tull Christmas album was much praised on its first release, with Rolling Stone none other noting admiringly that the originals simmer with eccentric, electric folky energy and rocking ditties threaded throughout with Celtic stylings, jazzy undercurrents, and Ian Anderson's distinctive flute and wry humor. So a double LP Christmas album, the Jethro Tull Christmas album. The list price on this one coming in at $33. And speaking of Jethro Tull, not really into these, but some of these tribute albums, especially tribute albums of albums, actually end up pretty cool. So here is a Various Artists redo of Aqualung from Jethro Tull. When you think of these kind of iconic albums that are getting this redo treatment now, this is probably one that would do well. Some of the artists contributing to this include Chris Goss, The Well, Huntsman, Big Scenic Nowhere, Mammoth Volume, and The Sword. So lots of cool stuff kicking in on this. A Various Artists reinterpretation of Aqualung. And we're not stopping there because now we have a Best of Jethro Tull redo as well. Now this goes beyond just Aqualung, but we've got a lot of great groups recreating some of Jethro Tull's biggest songs. These groups include the likes of Mr. Bison, Elephant Tree, The Golden Grass, Sergeant Thunderhoof, and Low Rider. So this one, by the way, coming on yellow vinyl, listing for about $35. And I should mention that the Aqualung is on colored vinyl, also looks to be kind of a purplish color on there as well. That one listing for $35, by the way, and $35 also for the Best of Jethro Tull overall. How about a soundtrack of sorts up next? This is from the Fallout series, and it's simply called Fallout: Soothing Sounds of the Apocalypse, a Various Artist album. The description says that soothing sounds of the apocalypse includes needle drops, classic tracks by artists that include the likes of Johnny Cash, Nat King Cole, Perry Como, Buck Owens, Scatman Crothers, Ella Fitzgerald, and the Ink Spots. If you're a player and fan of the Fallout game, not the TV series, but the game, you'll probably dig a lot of the stuff on here. Coming on a bluish marble-colored vinyl, Fallout Soothing Sounds of the Apocalypse, listing for about $21. And speaking of nuclear fallout, here we've got something from Yo Gabba Gabba and the album Yo Gabba Gabba Land Season 1, the Apple TV Plus original series soundtrack. Kidding, of course, but the description does say Yo Gabba Gabba is back. From the magical Yo Gabba Gabba Land come 26 tracks of dancey, dance-worthy tunes featuring Cammy the Cam, the Gabba Friends, and an amazing collection of special guests. So this is the original soundtrack from the Apple Plus series, and it features some cool guests including Anderson .Paak, the Linda Lindas, Thundercat, Portugal the Man, local natives, Big Daddy Kane, and many, many more on here as well. So some very cool stuff for you fans of Yo Gabba Gabba. This coming in at a suggested list price of $27. On to the reissue side now for the 6th of December. And we've got a holiday-themed EP from Sabrina Carpenter. Two versions of this, actually. It is called Fruitcake, and this was the second extended play and the first themed record, Christmas-themed record, by the American singer Sabrina Carpenter. This EP has 6 cuts, 5 of which are original songs alongside a fan favorite, Nonsense Christmas. 2 versions of Sabrina Carpenter's Fruitcake, kind of a fruitcake-colored one, purplish, I think. We'll call that one $30 as suggested list price. And then there is an indie exclusive on green vinyl, $30, also the suggested price for that one. Onward now to another great female singer and Nancy Sinatra. We've got 2 albums being reissued, Sugar and Country My Way. Sugar, coming on pink vinyl, this also includes some bonus tracks and a booklet as well, has been remastered. Sugar was the 4th album recorded by Nancy Sinatra back in 1966. And this one has, of course, the iconic Ron Joy cover photo of Nancy in a pink bikini, the first ever on an album cover, according to our description. But this was a daring move back in 1967, and that helped propel this album to number 18 on the charts. Now, there is a black vinyl version of this, as well as Country My Way, but the colored ones are they're much, much cooler to get a hold of. So Sugar from Nancy Sinatra on pink vinyl, bonus tracks and a booklet, listing for about $38. And then, as we mentioned, there is Country My Way. This, of course, featuring the James Bond theme, You Only Live Twice. That was a great one, kicking this album off for her as well. So Country My Way, this on blue vinyl or that black vinyl, but the blue vinyl version has the extra tracks and a booklet included as well. $38, also that list price. Next up is the reissue of the self-titled Old Crow Medicine Show, OCMS. This was their debut album, and according to our description, this is now being made available on vinyl for the very first time. Old Crow Medicine Show, self-titled, this one coming in at a suggested list price of $35. And it seems kind of odd to be celebrating a 1-year anniversary of an album, but it is the Rolling Stones, so I guess they get to do what they want to do. But here is the first anniversary edition of Hackney Diamonds from the Rolling Stones. So yeah, I guess. This one coming on clear and blue splatter vinyl. Double LP, as we mentioned, the reissue 1-year anniversary of Hackney Diamonds. $46, the suggested list price on that one. And speaking of the Rolling Stones, let's kick this in as well. It's called Welcome to Shepherd's Bush. This is kind of interesting, though. It's a double LP pressing, and the description says that as the Rolling Stones were preparing to play 2 nights at Wembley Stadium back in 1999, their first London show in 4 years, they announced a special surprise show at London's Shepherd's Bush Empire for June 8th of that year. So an intimate crowd of 1,800 lucky fans were treated to a number of rarely heard gems over the course of 96 minutes. So as Mick Jagger stated from the stage that night, if you want hits, go to the big place down the road later on. But as promised, the deep cuts were deep. Melody performed for the first time since 1977, while Moon Up was brought to the stage for the only time in the band's live career. Sheryl Crow, by the way, who opened for this show, joined the band for Honky Tonk Women. So lots of great deep cuts, double LP, live Welcome to Shepherd's Bush from the Rolling Stones. $46, the suggested list price on that one. One music on vinyl reissue to tell you about. This is a fun one as always. It's The Golden Age of Wireless from Thomas Dolby. Limited edition, 180 grams silver colored vinyl. And by limited, we mean that this is 1,000 individually numbered copies. So the golden age of wireless, by the way, was the debut album from the English musician Thomas Dolby. And this, of course, has She Blinded Me with Science on there, which is really kind of the coolest one from him. Lots of great stuff, but that is the standout. So the golden age of wireless from Thomas Dolby, limited edition, 180 grams, silver-colored vinyl, $38, the suggested list price on that one. How about a 10th anniversary edition from Run the Jewels? This is Run the Jewels 2. Double LP on 180 gram black vinyl. This one coming in at a suggested list price of $45. Let's get funky on this next one. This is the Clones of Dr. Funkenstein coming from Parliament. Our description says that after Mothership Connection came out in 1975, there was some speculation as to whether Parliament could come up with something just as good for their follow-up. Not a problem, as it turns out. The seminal Clones of Dr. Funkenstein was released in 1976 and is one of the P-Funk crew's finest. This reissue coming from the UK, the Clones of Dr. Funkenstein from Parliament, listing for about $31. And wrapping things up for the 6th, we've got a couple of soundtrack reissues. First up is 10 Things I Hate About You on limited edition pink colored vinyl. This is the 1999 soundtrack from the film that features the likes of Save Ferris, the Cardigans, Semisonic, and a couple of covers performed by Letters to Cleo. Those covers, by the way, include Cheap Tricks, I Want You to Want Me, and Cruel to Be Kind from Nick Lowe. So very cool soundtrack. 10 Things I Hate About You on limited edition pink vinyl. Holy cow, the price on this one, it's an import from Canada, eh? $61 is the suggested list price on that one. Another pricey one, but a very cool soundtrack as well. Here's a reissue of the High Fidelity soundtrack coming on limited edition blue colored vinyl. This also a Canadian import. Double LP though, and it's a great soundtrack. I don't know what I can say here, featuring the Kinks, Love, Stereolab, and of course the Beta Band, as well as 13th Floor Elevators. Very recognizable stuff. This reissue of High Fidelity coming on limited edition blue color vinyl. Various artist soundtracks. $75 is the suggested list price. Now, say what you will about that price, but the other reissues from not too long ago are fetching a lot more on Discogs, some of those editions. So I don't know, maybe it's worth it on this one, but it is a cool soundtrack, so we'll give it that. And that is a very quick check of some of the releases headed our way for Friday, the 6th of December, 2024. If you're local here to the Radio Wasteland universe, just contact us and we can put in a pre-order for you. Otherwise, head over to our website at radiowastelandrecords.com. From there, you can click on that link and see the full list of everything coming out. As I mentioned, there is a lot of stuff on this week's list, so make sure you head over, click on that link, and check things out. And if you see something on that list, all you have to do is contact us as well, and we can put in a pre-order for you for that. Just a side note here, with January fast approaching, that means Rhino's Start Your Ear Off Right campaign is on the way. I've been a little tied up with Black Friday, but we'll try to get into some of the preliminary stuff with the Rhino January releases coming up next week. So make sure you're subscribed. Do all that stuff you do, and we will talk about that hopefully beginning next week, because there's a lot of cool stuff, and I mean a lot of cool stuff on that Rhino list coming up in January. So until next time, this has been Jim from Radio Wasteland Records. Thank you so much for being here, and we will talk to you all again next time.